Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brady Prenslow, and this is Race Age 50, where I am chronicling all of my races this summer of 2025 as I have upgraded to a new age category. And we are on our second day of the LaCrosse Omnium. This is the road race as we are rolling out here in Chaseburg, Wisconsin. Chaseburg is a tiny village outside of LaCrosse, and of course, they're going to find some hills. This is the second location for the road race, and actually a much more beautiful location. It's sort of tucked away in these bluffs, and as you can see from the profile, there are some climbs on each lap. So this is not a race that I will particularly ever win, but I do really enjoy it. I would say it's definitely my favorite road race of the year. And this climb is interesting. We will get to it in a second, but it's conducive for slightly bigger guys because it kind of goes up in steps, but still, more than likely, a climber is going to win this race. And the unique thing is that we all know who the climbers are based on the time trial up Granddad's Bluff the night before. So it's pretty evident to know whose wheel to be on and who to follow in this race. As we are rolling out, and there's a bunch of donkey label riders in here as we turn off the main road and onto this more narrow road, and it immediately has a little punchy climb leading into the major climb. And I have raced in other categories where actually this section, the race has blown up already because here we are in like the third or fourth minute of the race. So if you have not warmed up and you are too far in the back, it's pretty easy for gaps to form on this short little punchy climb leading up to the major climb. As you can see, again, pushing over 400, over 500 watts up this little climb. I don't know why we hit it so hard right away. I think, again, us old guys are all just flexing our muscles as we lean into this race a bit. And I wasn't too worried about the first time we head up the major climb, as I thought it would be a little more pedestrian this first climb. I knew the real attacks would probably come the second time up the climb. So as we crest this little hill, we go on for another mile or two, and it's actually a little bit of a descent. As you can see, we're almost approaching 30 miles an hour. Sitting on this Wisconsin rider's wheel the entire time. I wanted my nose not to be right out front, but I wanted to be on the front of the group as we hit the major climb. And there are actually three riders up the road, two donkey label riders, Jose and BK. BK flew the coop because he's bigger like I am and knew that he wanted to sag up this climb a little bit. So yeah, there's about three riders up the road. But nobody got too nervous this early in the race. So this first time up the hill, as you can see, we are, getting up to 3, 4, 5, 6%, kind of hovering around 350, 400 watts at about 16 miles an hour. And like I said, this climb goes up in steps. So the good thing is you can catch your breath a little bit as it sort of flattens out, but the bad thing is there is absolutely no rhythm. It's not a situation where you can just find your right gear and just tap the pedals away all the way up the climb. You are constantly shifting. You're always in your small ring, at least I'm always in my small ring, but there are times where we'll be going over 20 miles an hour up this climb, and then again, it'll pitch up again, and as you can see, 400, 500 watts, 14 miles an hour, a few cars coming at us. But like I said, we kind of go up this little climb, it flattens out, go up a little more climb, flattens out as we are about a third of the way up the climb. And this climb is about 4 to 4.5 minutes. So you have to be able to hold 3, 4, 500 watts for that amount of time. And now that we are just about up the climb, this is actually the worst little step. So again, it flattens out, and then there's one last little pitch up here as we get up to a farmhouse. So here you are just hoping to hold on to wheels as we are going forward. And again, this last climb, we all made it. I'm sure that we shed some riders off the back. I don't think I turned around. I think we started off with 30, 35 riders, and I'm guessing we probably lost 10 up this first climb. So there were maybe 25 riders left as we all got up this climb. And here we are catching the 3 riders that flew the coop. I think I say to BK, like, thank God you made it. We made it. We are with the group for at least one more lap. And the rest of this lap stayed, again, pretty pedestrian. There were definitely some crosswinds and people took turns pulling, but I knew nothing was really going to come apart this first lap. So getting up to this farmhouse, and about the time you get up to this farmhouse, you can switch out of your little ring into your big ring before going downhill into a sharp over 90-degree turn onto another highway with a little bit of a pitch up. So again, I showed to BK, thank God we made it. And in my mind, I'm assessing, okay, can I do this 2 more times? Do I have it in me? Because as you can see, we are doing 3 laps as 50 plus. We did 4 as 40 plus. And I can't say if I've ever finished this race as a 40 plus. We had a few ringers in the 40 plus field that would get away, and it was always nasty conditions. So this was definitely the most beautiful and best weather conditions that I've ever raced this course. Beautiful afternoon in May. So as you can see, we're going downhill again, 23, 24, 25 miles an hour. Everybody's coasting, catching their breath, ready to get into this over 90-degree right-hand turn up here. And like I said, when I raced 40 plus, at least one year, I know that the race completely split apart at this part in the course, because as you can see, we pitch up and here we are again, 800, 700, 600 watts after climbing for 4.5 minutes. So if somebody really decided to go at this section, especially if it was a headwind or crosswind, you can have some gaps form pretty quickly. As we get up here, again, we just sort of rotate through and sped things up, and we're going through the start-finish line the first time around. And here I know that things are going to start to tick up a little bit. A lot of donkeys on the front. Steve Marshall, who is a climber who I believe got 3rd in the time trial, don't quote me on that, is fueling up, getting ready for the climb. And I'm just trying to figure things out, stay on my teammate's wheel and see how things go. But here we are. We are approaching the climb the second time. And here I start to panic a little bit because I'm pushing 600-700 watts and we're not even to the climb yet. So there are a few of my teammates on the front just drilling it. And it's taking absolutely everything I have in me just to stay with the group before we even get to the climb. It might be a little bit of a pitch up at this point, but I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like it's already started. Can I maintain this for another 4 minutes up this climb? And I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking this at this point. I'm just trying to hold wheels, get in the right position, not fall too far back when things really start to pitch up and get serious. So again, staying on BK's wheel. As we start to go up, things ease back a little bit on the front. So whoever was drilling it up front decided not to stay on the gas the entire time. But again, we're still pushing 400-500 watts. And I'm thinking, can I do this for another 3 minutes? And as you can see, this will be the point in the race where my race will start to fall apart. I'm sitting on BK's wheel. He's a great draft, and I'm thinking, okay, just sit here and we will see what happens. But like you can look down at my data, 500 watts, 600 watts. I can maintain that for a minute or two. Can I maintain that for another 3, 4, 5 minutes as we go up here? And now things really start to pitch up, and again, the power starts ramping up. And something kind of funny, sort of funny, not for Laszlo, happens here in just a bit. As guys really start to hit it, and when things really get steep, you'll see Laszlo here in a second get ahead of me. And he will, he is ahead of me right now, and he's looking down, I think, already. I don't know if it's when he switched from his big ring to his little ring, but he drops his chain. And the crazy thing is that he had a chain issue in last year's race. So this will be the second year in a row that he's had a mechanical. And again, he's looking down, and he is done. Well, he can't stay with the lead groups, but he actually had to get off his bike, and he was able to get back onto all the chasers. But as you can see, Matt goes, and here things are really getting serious. So we are about, again, a third of the way up the climb, and I'm thinking, can I hold 400 to 500 watts for another 2.5 minutes? And there are about 8 or 9 riders, and I'm thinking, oh man, that elastic is breaking. It's breaking, and it's breaking slowly. Is there anything more brutal at this point? Now you're just like, all right, hold this guy's wheel, hold this guy's wheel. And this guy goes by me. I'm like, all right, just try to hold this wheel. And, you know, I do pull the ripcord, but you can see from my watts that I don't fully pull it. You know, I'm not hovering around 600-700 watts, but I'm still, my 190-pound body is still pushing 300-400 watts. I'm dipping a little bit lower now as it starts to feel a little defeating, as, like I said, there's 6, 7, 8 riders, and I have a lot of teammates up there. So I'm thinking, all right, I maybe have done a little work for them this first lap, but I'm going to be of no use to them this next lap and a half anyway. Am I going to be able to get up this with these guys again? So here, again, 200-300 watts, just trying to finish with a group. And I'll speed up in here. We are at the top of the climb, and like I said, there are 6, 7, 8 riders up the road, and we are all just sort of roadkill, picking up the pieces of the chase group. And like I said, we started off with about 35 riders, 6 or 7 or 8 guys up the road. I think we lost about 8 or 10 riders on that first lap, so we had a chasing group of about 15 to 18. Brian Koneman, BK, and I were the only 2 donkey label riders left in this chasing group, as we had 4 donkey label. I think half of the lead group up the road were donkey label riders. So that being said, we weren't going to chase. We weren't going to hinder their chase, but here we are back on the flats, and Laszlo is out front. He has caught our chasing group, and he is upset because of the mechanical. He thought he probably could have stayed with that chasing group. So he's shouting at BK and I not to disrupt the chase. Again, we're just sort of hanging out on the back. Again, not disrupting their chase, but not helping it either, because we have plenty of teammates up the road. So this kind of goes on. And, you know, nobody's putting in huge efforts to chase this down, but we're making progress. As you can see, again, kind of a tail crosswind at 30 miles an hour. 37 miles an hour as we are kind of approaching this downhill section slightly. And this downhill section is really manageable. No turns that you need to brake for. You approach 50 miles an hour, but very safe. Road's in good condition, so I don't think anything has ever gotten away on the downhill. It's not like you have to be an amazing descender. Especially when you're 190 pounds, you just sort of tuck and go with the group. But the descent is a nice place to kind of catch your breath. And I could already feel a little bit of some cramping happening at this point, and I'm thinking, okay, can I get up this hill one more time? So after the descent, we go through the start-finish line. Like I said, there's about 15 of us chasers, and we go through the start-finish line one more time before the finish, and something sort of shocking happens. All of a sudden, I can see some riders up the road, and I thought, there is no way that we were going to catch these riders. And I didn't know at the time, but my one teammate, Aaron Drevelo, had already flown the coop from the leading rider. So Aaron was up the road, and then there was maybe 5 or 6 riders in sort of a in-between group, and we can see them. If you look ahead, they are just up the road, which gave a lot of these riders just enough motivation and incentive to push forward. So at one point, I think they only had about 10 or 12 seconds on us. And who knows, if we had caught them a little bit before the climb, we could have maybe all bunched up and been sprinting for second. But since we did not catch them before the major climb, I think they put about another minute into us in that final push. So you can see him up the road. Again, Laszlo shouting at me to get off the front. I'm not sure how that is disrupting his chasing efforts. I'm just trying to get to the end of this race. I'm not trying to catch these riders, but again, I was shocked that we got as close as we did. So getting up to this top of this first little pitch here before getting up the climb one more time, and I'm thinking, I really don't want to finish this race all by myself, so please let me get up to the top of this climb, at least with this group. And again, as we approach this final climb. So here we are on the top of the final climb up. Laszlo's still shouting at me for some reason to get off the front. I don't know how I am hindering his performance, but he sprints by me, and here I can really start to feel just a tiny bit of cramping happen. I would have liked to kind of have a little group sprint out of the back, for whatever, 6th, 7th, 8th place, but like I said, we kind of rotate through. BK and I don't help the efforts, but again, we don't hinder the chasing effort. And 10, 12 seconds were as close as we were going to get to that leading group. Like I said, Aaron Drevlo finished first. There were about 5 or 6 riders finishing not too far behind him, and then we finished about a minute behind those leading riders. So that is the race. Very fun. Like I said, I don't think I would ever be able to win this race unless I was able to shed some major pounds or increase my watt per kg in some crazy fashion. But at 50, I don't see that happening. But I will come out and race this every year that I'm able to, because as you can see, it's just a gorgeous race. And it's a good test against myself. So maybe next year I'll be able to stick with the lead groups for 2 laps versus a lap and a half. But thanks for watching. Tomorrow is the crit, which is definitely more my speed.